It was a quiet morning at the city hospital when a nurse standing near the entrance noticed something unusual. A small, scruffy puppy was struggling to drag a heavy black bag across the street. The bag was bigger than the dog itself, and every step looked painful. People walking by paused, staring, whispering, but no one dared to open it. The puppy whined desperately, pulling the bag with all its strength until it finally collapsed in front of the hospital doors. Doctors and staff rushed outside, confused and alarmed. What could possibly be inside that mysterious bag? The puppy barked frantically, as if pleading for help. When the doctor finally unzipped it, silence fell over everyone. What lay inside left them frozen in shock, and within seconds, the hospital turned into a scene no one would ever forget. The hospital entrance was usually a place of calm routine. Patients walking in, ambulances arriving, staff rushing with clipboards. But that morning, everything froze because of a single puppy. It was small, thin, and its fur was messy, but its determination was stronger than anyone had ever seen. With trembling legs, it dragged a large black bag until it reached the glass doors. The effort was almost unbearable. The puppy's tongue hung out, and its chest rose and fell rapidly, yet refused to give up. At first, onlookers thought it was just trash. Some whispered that maybe the bag had food scraps, and the dog was desperate for a meal. But the way the puppy kept barking at the hospital staff suggested something far more urgent. Its eyes were wide, filled with both fear and hope, and its body trembled as though it understood that time was running out. Finally, a young doctor named Dr. Ryan pushed his way through the small crowd. He knelt down, cautiously placing a hand on the bag. The puppy barked again, circling frantically as if urging him to open it quickly. With a deep breath, Dr. Ryan tugged at the zipper. What he saw inside made him stagger backward. Inside the bag, wrapped in a dirty blanket, was a newborn baby. Its tiny face was pale, lips trembling faintly, and its weak cries barely rose above a whisper. The baby was alive, but barely. Gasps filled the air. Nurses rushed forward with blankets, and one of them lifted the infant gently, shouting for immediate emergency care. The puppy barked louder now, wagging its tail nervously, as though it knew it had done the impossible. The crowd was speechless. Who had abandoned a baby in such a cruel way? And how did this stray puppy know exactly where to bring the child for help? The hospital, once filled with ordinary routines, had suddenly turned into a place of mystery and awe. Everyone's eyes shifted between the fragile infant and the determined little dog, and questions began to fill the air. Inside the emergency ward, doctors and nurses worked quickly. The baby's body was cold, and its breathing shallow. The nurses placed it under a warming lamp, checking its heartbeat while preparing oxygen. Dr. Ryan gave instructions rapidly, his voice urgent but steady. Minutes passed like hours until finally, a strong cry echoed through the room. Relief washed over everyone. The baby was alive, fighting to survive. Meanwhile, the puppy sat outside the ward, its dirty paws leaving marks on the tile floor. Its ears twitched every time it heard the baby cry. It seemed restless, whining softly as if it refused to leave until it was certain the child was safe. Some nurses tried to shoo it away, but others stopped them, realizing the little dog was the true reason the baby was still alive. News of the miraculous rescue spread quickly through the hospital. Staff who had been busy with their patients came to see the tiny hero. Phones appeared, pictures were taken, and soon whispers filled the corridors. Who left the baby in that bag? And how did the puppy know where to bring it? A police officer arrived shortly after, alerted by the hospital staff. He questioned the bystanders who had seen the dog dragging the bag, but no one had any answers. The officer crouched near the puppy, studying it with curiosity. Strays usually search for food or shelter, he murmured, but this one it carried a life. Back in the nursery, the baby was finally stable. A nurse placed a soft cap over its head, wrapping it securely in clean blankets. The infant's skin had regained some color, though it was clear that without the puppy's intervention, the story would have ended differently. Dr. Ryan stepped out of the ward, looking down at the puppy. "You saved this child," he whispered, bending to pat its head. The puppy wagged its tail weakly, almost as if it understood the praise. For the hospital staff, this was no longer just a medical emergency. It was the beginning of an extraordinary story that none of them could fully explain. The police began their investigation immediately. The black bag was collected as evidence, and fingerprints were checked. But beyond the mystery of abandonment, the puppy itself became the center of attention. Reporters arrived quickly, their cameras flashing, capturing the small dog sitting patiently outside the nursery window. It didn't bark aggressively, nor did it try to escape. It simply watched the baby, as if guarding it. Children in the hospital pointed and smiled, calling the puppy a guardian angel. Some staff members brought food and water for the dog, but even as it ate, its eyes remained fixed on the child. Something unexplainable connected them. Meanwhile, detectives pieced together possible scenarios. Could the baby have been abandoned in a nearby alley? Did the puppy find it by accident? No one knew for sure. The only undeniable truth was that without the dog, the baby would not have survived. One evening, Dr. Ryan sat near the puppy with a thoughtful expression. "Why here?" he whispered, looking into its big brown eyes. "Out of all places, why bring the baby to us?" The dog tilted its head, as though trying to answer. Days passed, and the baby grew stronger. Nurses began calling him Miracle, a name that spread quickly among the staff. But as the baby's condition improved, a new question arose. What would happen to Puppy? Animal control officers suggested taking it to a shelter, but the staff protested. "This dog is a hero," one nurse argued. "It doesn't belong in a cage." Dr. Ryan agreed, but rules were rules. Unless someone adopted the puppy, its future remained uncertain. Yet, something remarkable happened. When the infant cried at night, the puppy would bark softly, as if responding. When the baby slept peacefully, the dog lay quietly outside the ward. Their bond was undeniable. The story had gone beyond the hospital now. Social media posts spread rapidly, with headlines calling the dog a miracle savior. Crowds gathered outside, hoping to see the brave little hero. But with all the attention, the danger of exploitation also grew. Someone, somewhere, had abandoned that child. And now, they might want to silence the truth. The police continued searching for the baby's parents. They interviewed nearby residents, checked CCTV cameras, and followed every lead. One blurry camera angle from a street corner revealed a shadowy figure placing something into the black bag late at night. The figure quickly disappeared into the darkness, leaving the bag behind. That was where the puppy must have found it. But while the investigation grew darker, inside the hospital, something brighter unfolded. The baby, now gaining weight and strength, smiled for the first time. The staff cheered softly, and even the puppy wagged its tail furiously at the sound. A bond was forming, not just between the child and the dog, but between everyone who had witnessed a miracle. Patients whispered prayers for the baby. Visitors brought toys, blankets, and even food for the puppy. The hospital had turned into a place of hope, inspired by the unlikely hero. But one night, a stranger attempted to enter the nursery. Security stopped him in time, but his nervous behavior raised suspicion. Could he be connected to the baby's abandonment? The police tightened their watch, determined to protect both the child and the dog. Amid all this tension, Dr. Ryan made a decision. He would not let the puppy be taken to a shelter. "If no one else steps forward," he declared, "I'll take him home." The staff applauded, relieved that the brave little savior would finally have a family. When the adoption papers were signed, the puppy seemed to sense it. For the first time, it wagged its tail with true joy, licking Dr. Ryan's hand affectionately. Yet, questions remained unsolved. Who abandoned the baby? Why? And why did the puppy, out of all places, bring it to the hospital? Was it pure instinct? Or something deeper, something unexplainable? The city buzzed with theories, but one thing was certain. The bond between the infant and the puppy was no coincidence. Fate had brought them together. Weeks passed, and both baby and puppy thrived. The hospital eventually discharged the child into foster care, while the investigation continued. Dr. Ryan often visited the baby, always bringing the puppy along. The child's tiny hands reached out for the dog's fur, and the puppy responded by licking them gently, as if promising lifelong protection. The story became national news. Articles described the puppy as a guardian angel in fur. Donations flooded in for the baby's future, and offers of adoption came from families across the country. But alongside the attention came darker truths. The investigation revealed the baby's biological parents had abandoned out of desperation and fear. They were later found and taken into custody. Though justice was served, the real focus remained on the small hero. The puppy, once a stray with no name, now had a family and purpose. Dr. Ryan named him Hope, a reminder what the dog had carried through those hospital doors. One afternoon, standing outside the hospital garden, Dr. Ryan held the baby in his arms while Hope lay at his feet. "This child will grow up knowing he was never alone," the doctor said softly, "because even in the darkest moment, someone fought for him." The baby gurgled happily, reaching down toward the pup. Hope barked once, tail wagging, eyes gleaming with pride. It wasn't just a rescue, it was destiny. A helpless infant, abandoned and forgotten, had been given life again, and a stray puppy, once invisible to the world, had become a hero celebrated everywhere. As the sun set that evening, painting the sky in gold and crimson, the hospital staff gathered to watch the unlikely family. Their hearts swelled with hope, their faith in humanity restored by the courage of a single dog. Because sometimes heroes don't wear uniforms. Sometimes they come with wagging tails and determined hearts, carrying miracles in the most unexpected ways.